Okay, so last day we talked about some uses of lenses, and we talked about things like magnifying glasses and spotlights and projectors. And the only thing that was different for those three is where we put the object that we're interested in, right? For the magnifying glass, we want to have that object in between F and the lens, so we can see a larger upright virtual image. For a spotlight, we want the lamp right at F, so we can make a nice parallel beam of light. And for the projector, we want that object between the F and the 2F, all right? So we get a large, inverted, but real image is the key. In terms of the projector, what had to be true about the film in the projector in order to get a regular-looking image? What did the film have to be? Yep. Upside down and flipped over and inverted, and then when that flips back over, we see a proper image. Same with the liquid crystal display I was talking about yesterday in this projector. If we were to dissect this machine and somehow get the liquid crystal display to put the image up on it, it would be flipped and it would be flipped, right? It would be vertically flipped and horizontally flipped, so that when it ends up on my screen as a real image, it looks normal. All right. So today we want to finish off this unit on optics, and I thought I was going to maybe get to some color theory, but I'm not going to. We'll take the whole day to talk about the eye and the camera. So we'll start first with talking about the eye, and I asked you to take my handout and attempt to fill in what was the parts on this thing, and I will now take some of your answers, and we will get this filled in. If we're starting from, and I'd like to move that, but I don't think I can because I want to write it right there. That's okay. All right. Let's start from where the light comes into the eye. So light is obviously entering the front of the eye. Here's my really crappy model of an eye. It's missing all kinds of pieces. But if we've got light coming in this way, let's talk about the pieces as light enters from the front and works its way to the back. So the first thing it encounters actually is this outer surface here. And so I'm looking at this label right here. What do we have for this label? Yep, the cornea. Excellent. Cornea, all right? Now, just to talk briefly about these structures as we go. The cornea is the outer surface of the eye, right? So, and it's got a thickness and it's transparent, made out of cells, obviously, it's some kind of biological material. But I'm not concerned about that in this particular unit. And, if somebody pokes you in the eye, and they hit you in the eye, they've hit you in the cornea most likely, right? They hit you right in the cornea, and that's what you're sensing on the front there, okay? Now, the cornea is like a lens, even though hopefully on your diagram you've labeled a lens. Is that correct? You got a label for a lens? But the cornea is like a lens. The cornea is transparent, it's curved, so it behaves like a lens. So the cornea does focus light, just like when we get to talking about the lens focuses light. So in the eye, there are two main focusers of light. The cornea, and then when we get talking about the lens also focuses light, all right? So there's two things that focus the light. In actual fact, the cornea does most of the focusing. It's like the cornea is the thick, heavy lens, the lens that's doing most of the work, where the lens itself only does a little bit of focusing, all right? So the cornea is important. It does a lot of focusing of light. So the light then comes through the cornea, and it encounters these two structures here. Let's look at this structure up above here where we've got something that's kind of in front of this thing here. What is this up above here? What is that? Yep, the iris. Nice. Iris. What is the iris? If you look into someone's eyes, and you look into their iris, or at their iris, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? Yep. Yeah, the colored part of the eye. The colored part of the eye is the iris. What's the function of the iris? Any ideas? What does the iris do? Anybody else? Iris. Anything? Yep. Yeah, it opens and closes. That's what allows you to see that dark spot in the middle of the eye. all right? So it opens and closes and controls the amount of light. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. All right, so this one here is actually pointing at this opening in between the two pieces of the iris. So it's actually pointing at the opening. What do we have there for that opening? Yep, the pupil. Excellent. The pupil. Uh-oh. Spell it for me. What do I know? I-L? It's just the way it sounds. Pupil. All right. Okay. So, pupil. Now, the pupil is the dark spot. Now, the pupil isn't actually a thing. Even though you look into somebody's eyes and you see that dark spot, you're not actually seeing an object. Like if you were to look in that person's eyes and then say, hey, can I borrow that eye? And then rip their eye out of the socket and then take a scalpel and open that eye and try to find a dark little disc, you won't find a dark little disc. It's not a thing. It's an opening. It's a hole into the eye, all right? Now, the reason it looks black, you wouldn't actually do that, right? You're now figuring out my description here? Anyway, so what was I talking about? Ripping an eye out of somebody's face and cutting it open, and that you're not going to find anything there. Right. Why is it black? The reason it's black is because any light that strikes your eye, right, bounces off the white stuff. Did anybody get the name for the white stuff? It's not in my notes. It's not one of my things. You might have come across something called the sclera. Did you come across something called the sclera? Now, I don't have the sclera labeled on mine. You may have thought that the bottom one there was the sclera, but it's not. The sclera is the white part of the eye, right? So the part that isn't colored or you don't have the pupil in it. It's that white part that, if you look to the left, you see the white part, right? Yep. No, you won't. No, I'm just telling you what that is, all right? So the reason the pupil looks black is because when you look at something, the only transparent opening in the eye is that pupil. It's like a window. And any light that hits it gets sucked into, it doesn't actually get sucked into the eye. It goes into the eye where then you can see when it hits the back of the eye. The rest of the light hits the sclera, bounces off. You see the white part of somebody's eye. The rest of the light hits the iris and bounces off, and you see the colored part of the eye. So the reason the pupil is black is because it's an opening, and it's like you're looking inside a dark box, right? That's what the eye is. It's a light box. It catches light, and so any light that goes in, it gets sucked in, and so it looks dark. Because the lack of any light is dark, is black, and that's why it looks that way. So you couldn't actually dissect an eye and pull out a pupil. It just isn't there. Okay, let's talk next about this thing right here, this kind of, I'm not even going to describe the shape. What is this? Yep, it's the lens. The lens. All right. So the lens is obviously a lens. It's going to bend the light some more. It's a converging lens. The cornea is also a converging lens. But this lens has the ability to change shape. It's really a gelatinous lens. Again, if you were to take that person's eye that you've recently ripped out and try to find a pupil, which you wouldn't do, but if you were to dissect a cow's eye, and I've seen this done, and you did it fresh, a nice fresh cow's eye, when you get to the lens, you take it out, it looks like a gelatinous object that's transparent, that you can bend and shape, all right? So it's kind of like it would kind of be able to move in your hands. But in the eye, it's suspended between two liquids, and it keeps a nice lens shape. But if you were to take that out, then the shape kind of changes. But you can change its shape, which means the lens can be stretched so that it's thin, or it can be caused to bulge out in the middle so it can be thick. So this is an adjustable lens, because if you make it really thick, you can make the lens stronger, and if you make it really thin, you can make the lens weaker. Just like when we had our lenses for our experiment, if you had a thin little lens, you found maybe that the focal point was longer than if you had one of these big fat lenses, okay? So the lens is an adjustable lens which allows you to change the focal length. All right. Now, this diagram that I've chosen, I got it years ago. Actually, I think I got it from an old teacher. I'm not a fan of it. It's not bad. I'm not sure whether this arrow should be pointing at this bottom part here, or whether it should be pointing right here at this spot. So I'm not sure whether this is the correct point to point, or whether it's this. I'm not concerned. If I get you to label this on a test, which I do, by the way, on this test for the camera and the eye, I have you label a few things, and so you might have to label a few of these things. For this particular test, that one is going to be known as, well, did anybody put an answer in there? Hopefully pencil, because there might be some different ones. What do you got there, Matt? Yeah, ciliary, I'm going to say ciliary muscles, all right, because it is a muscle. So ciliary muscles, excellent, that's exactly what it is. What did you have? Did some people have different things? I'm wondering what you got from just different labels. Ciliary muscles, you get it? Ciliary muscles? Okay, you weren't here yesterday? Ciliary muscles? All right, ciliary muscles. Oh, this was spelling was a tough one again. Ciliary, is it the way it sounds? That's probably why I pronounce it that way. Maybe it's different and I pronounce it ciliary so I can spell it. So that's ciliary muscles for those of us who are spelling challenge. Muscles, all right? Ciliary muscles. Now, the ciliary muscles are the things that change the shape of our lens, all right? When you look at something far away, the lens adjusts, right? So you can see things clear that are far away. And then when you look at something that's really close, the ciliary muscles flex and they change how thick the lens is, okay? Actually, let's talk about this a little bit before we actually get to the note part. If you look at something across the room, take a look across the room, I see the yellow label that says natural gas or something. It doesn't make any difference. You can pick something across the room. And then hold your paper up in front of your face. Hold your paper in front of the face. Keep looking at an object across the room, all right? And then quickly look at something on the page, right? And then look back at something far away. Now, I'm hoping there's a brief moment where when you switch from close to far, that it's blurry for a brief moment, and then it comes into focus. Are you noticing that? Everybody noticing that? Okay. So what's happening is your brain, which is really powerful, you don't even have to concentrate on this. It happens automatically. Your brain is telling the ciliary muscles to relax or flex to change the thickness of the lens, depending on whether you're seeing close or far. This particular phenomenon that you're noticing when you look close and then you look far and it's blurry for a moment and then you can see, we call this accommodation. Your lens is changing, it's accommodating for looking far rather than looking near, all right? In a moment, we're going to talk more about what the ciliary muscles do, exactly what they do, and whether you need a strong or weak lens, whether you're looking close, or whether you need a strong or weak lens, whether you're looking far. We'll talk about that in a moment. But that's what the ciliary muscles do. They flex so that they can change the shape. Before I move on, let me just talk about how they flex. I always thought, when I first taught this, that when they flexed, they would pull the lens really tight. But I recently learned, when I went to an optometrist, that that's not what happens. The ciliary muscles act like a drawstring around, say, a hood, right? You know, if you got a hood, you got a drawstring and a hood right there in front of you. So if you have the hood and you pull your string tight, like if the ciliary muscles go tight, it pulls in on the lens, right? It draws the outer edges of the lens in, and it makes the lens get really fat and thick. And then when the ciliary muscles relax, it allows the lens to go back out to a wider shape, kind of like when you pull the drawstring back out, and it allows the lens to be thin, okay? So when your ciliary muscles flex, you get a really fat, strong, highly converging lens that can really bend light hard. When your ciliary muscles relax, the lens is thin and it doesn't bend light as well. It's a weaker lens. Yes? No, that's muscles within the iris that change the shape of the pupil. This is muscles within the lens that change the shape of the lens. Because even if it's dark, your ciliary muscles can accommodate for looking distance versus looking close, versus when it's light. But the light and dark change muscles in the iris. And when it's really bright, the iris's muscles pull in. Probably a similar mechanism, but I don't know. I've never checked in what the mechanism of the iris is. Makes the pupil small, and that prevents a lot of light from getting in, right? We'll talk more about that in a moment as well, okay? All right, so we've got the lens and the ciliary muscles. Excellent. back of the eye, and not just that spot. The back of the eye includes everything back along here, except that little spot there. That little spot is kind of special. We'll put a little thing there. But that kind of whole back of the eye is that guy right there. And what is that? What is the back of the eye? What is the label for that one? Somebody have that? What do you got? Jocelyn, what do you got? The retina. The retina. Well, you looked right down and then you looked up at me. I thought you were giving me an answer. The retina. The retina. The retina is the photosensitive part of the eye. When the light hits the retina, there are specific cells that are built into the retina. They're called rods and cones. I think the rods allow you to see light and dark and gray, and the cones, there are 3 types, and they allow you to see color, all right? I'm not worried about rods versus cones and all that type of stuff. I just want you to know that the retina is the light-sensitive part. It's the cells that react to the light. Remember when I talked about what light is way at the beginning, and I talked about wiggling charges and how that wiggling charge can put a wiggle in the electric field and cause maybe a pith ball to wiggle? There are small structures in those cells that are charged and are sensitive to the electric field of visible light, so that when that visible light enters, it causes those charges in those cells to wiggle, and that wiggling of charge is what a nerve impulse is, because nerve impulses are electrical signals, and then that gets sent to our brain and we see the light, all right? So the retina has the nerves that allow us to see, all right? They're the photosensitive part. And then we need this piece right here. This is the whole structure heading out this way, and what is that? Optic nerve, excellent. Optic nerve, all right? And the optic nerve takes that signal from the retina, sends it to your brain, and you perceive that you see. All right? Okay? What I have next is really simply fill in the blanks. By the way, when we get into talking about systems in the biology unit, which I really don't know a lot about, we do a lot of notes like this because I don't know this stuff quite as well. So we'll play fill in the blank after hopefully you've either read about it or I've taught you about it. So, as the light from the object enters the eye, it first gets to the cornea. The cornea does almost all of the blank of the light. What do you got? Focusing. So it's the primary focuser. And I'm going to change my color of my pen here. Focusing of the light. The light then goes through the blank, which is a blank opening. I remember I hated that fill in the blank thing, the bottom one. It doesn't make much sense. What does it go through? Yeah, very good. The light goes through the pupil. Pupil. The light then goes through the pupil, which is a, what do I want there? Dark, black, central. That's not bad. You guys have already filled in the blanks. You went to the textbook and did this. That's awesome. Good work. That's fine. That's good. I don't care really. Central, dark. It's really just an opening. You can call it whichever type. Round opening. It just doesn't make any difference to me. I really don't care. Dark, round opening. I'll just leave that for you to fill in. It's not a big deal. It's the opening and where the light comes in. Excellent. Let's keep on going. The iris is the blank part of the eye. Yep. Colored. That blanks and blanks to control the amount of light. Yep. Yeah, opens and closes. Opens and closes. All right. At this point, I got something to talk to you about. I don't know. I don't take a lot of pictures with my phone. Anyway, you guys, I'm sure, take lots of pictures. Do you still suffer from red eye? Do you get pictures with red eye in it, or does the phone take care of that problem? You still get some red eye. Have you ever seen pictures that have red eye? Yeah. So let me explain what red eye is. All right. Now, years ago, back when we used these types of cameras, or even, not, this camera is probably, late 70s, early 80s, that type of thing, so maybe, 30 years old. Even 10 years ago, 20, 15 years ago, like when you guys were born, not a lot of digital cameras, they were just starting to come out. You'd have just a regular film camera, not as fancy as this, more portable, but when you took a picture of somebody, right, the flash, it would blink first. Have you ever seen a camera like that where it blinks, 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 and then blinks another time and takes a picture? Those are the older cameras, right? Your grandparents might use those. I know when my mom takes pictures, she's always hesitant because she thinks the flashing is going to do something goofy. Anyway, if you've ever seen that, that's an attempt to get rid of the red eye. Because here's what the red eye is. Let's say you're at a gathering and the lights are down and everybody's having a good time, and you say, come on, let's get a picture, and everybody gets a picture. It's usually dark. So what's true about the pupil in the iris if it's dark in the room at a party? Yep. They're big pupils, right? Your eyes are dilated. So then, if you don't have the red eye reduction setting on, and you just take a picture, the light goes funneling into the eye. Because the pupil's wide open, it goes right to the back of the eye, and then it hits the retina. And the retina has lots of cells. So there's many blood vessels to the retina because we need to be constantly seeing. So those cells are always working. So there needs to be lots of blood to the retina. The light hits the blood vessels, comes back out, but is now red because it's reflected off of a bunch of blood vessels, heads right back into the camera, and what have you done? You've taken the picture of the back of somebody's eyeball. You've literally taken a picture of their retina. So the eyes are really big, and it takes a picture of the retina. So if you don't want red eye, you need to get the pupils to become really small. All right? You need to get them to contract. So what do? You send out some flashes of light to get the eyes to contract the eye. Then you actually take the picture. So in these cameras that have these flashes at first, the first flash isn't taking a picture. It's making the eyes go, get really small, right? And then the last flash is the picture. Take the picture. And then hopefully your pupils are small enough that you don't have a big red spot because you've made the pupils go down, right? Now the problem with people who use that camera, they don't know how it works. So people are standing there for the picture, the first flash goes, they start to walk away, and the picture hasn't been taken yet. So you get a picture of people walking away, all right? But that's how red eye reduction works, all right? Now the pupils can be affected by various chemicals, right, by drugs. If you were to go to the eye doctor and they want to do a thorough check, they sometimes put drops in your eyes. Have you ever had that done? They put the drops in, and what they do is it relaxes all those muscles and it makes the pupil go huge, all right? And then they look right inside at your retina, and they say, yeah, it looks good, but it takes about a half an hour for the drugs to wear off. So if you go outside after that, it's like, the world looks blindingly bright. Has anybody ever experienced such a thing? Okay, that's because the drugs are making your, the drugs are making your pupil get really big so they can see inside your eye, and then eventually they'll go back to normal as the drugs get metabolized by your body or they dissipate. If you were to take other drugs, not a good idea, or perhaps drink alcohol, not a good idea. But if someone does such a thing, it has the similar effect on the pupils. So and you guys are way too young for this, but if you've ever been in a car where, say, it's in the evening and maybe it's a ride program, which you've probably been in the car, and they stop the car and the police officer comes up and he has his flashlight, do you ever notice what the police officer does? Yeah. Right in the driver's eye. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, it's good. Do you have anything to drink, sir? No. Okay, continue on. Have a good time. Okay, so what's he doing? He's not doing that so we can see inside the car. He's doing that on purpose. What's he looking for? Yeah, he's looking for the pupils really big, and he's looking to see if they respond quickly. Because they will be big. You're driving in the dark. You're seeing out in front of you. They'll be big, and then he's looking in your pupils very carefully to see if it goes, and if it does, then he's probably thinking, yeah, no, this guy hasn't had anything to drink. All right, have a good time. But if that thing stays big and wide and you're like, you know, have you had anything to drink? No, no. Yeah, sure, come on, get out of the car and get in the back. Right? So they can tell that. They can tell by the reaction of those pupils whether that's the case. That's also why if you're at a, you know, say a wedding or something and you're taking pictures of, not you guys, you're way too young for this, but let's say aunts and uncles who are having a good time, right? And they're like, yeah, take a picture of me. It doesn't matter how much the red eye reduction is on, you're going to get great big red eyes on the picture because those flashes at the beginning won't do anything. They won't respond to them, right? That's why when you take a picture of someone who's a little drunk and it's got the red eye reduction and it flashes, they're going, what are you trying to do to me? My goodness gracious, you're blinding me. That's because the pupils stay dilated in response to that. All right? So that's an effect of the pupil and the iris. All right, that's exciting. Okay. Okay, let's keep on going here. The light then enters the lens and is blanked slightly. Gotta get my pen back here. Again, what do we got? Yep. Bent. I like bent or focused. I'm saying that the lens is just a minor focuser, so I could go with bent slightly. The lens can change shape and therefore can blank how much the light blanks. Sure, I like that. I like control. Control how much the light focuses or bends. Doesn't make any difference to me. Again, we're talking about bending or focusing. Focuses to produce a blank. Yep. Clear image. We need a clear image on our retina. Clear image. Now that's completely different than the way our projector works, and same with the other old projector. With the old projector and that projector, I move the lens in order to get a clear image. But in this case, because I can't literally make the eye bulge out and move that lens in and out, the lens itself changes shape to make a clear image. And in this case, the screen is the back of the eyeball. All right? That's where we want that clear image to be. Okay, let's keep rolling. The ciliary muscles are responsible for the blank of the blank. Yep. Yeah, I like that. Shape of the lens is good. Shape of the lens. And we'll talk a little more about how that is affected. The retina is on the blank of the eye. Yeah, what do you think, Emily? Back side, back surface. I'm not that picky on this. Back side, back surface, back inner surface might be even a little more specific, but that's okay. The light energy is converted to blank by the photosensitive cells. No ideas? Nothing? Not a big deal? Nerve impulses, nerve signals, you know what I mean? Some kind of things. So, nerve impulses, nerve signals, impulses. Now I got to spell impulses. Yeah, I think that's okay. By the photosensitive cells, rods and cones, but you guys don't have to worry about that. All right. And we see. The optic nerve connects the eye to the, to the, what'd you say? Brain, the brain, eye to the brain. Wasn't sure what you said. Pretty sure you said brain, but okay. Is that the right brain? Did you spell that right? Like a membrane, because I've been looking at my notes for the next unit, and we got to talk about membranes, and that's a different brain. That's good. There's a brain right there. Thanks. The brain takes the small inverted image and creates a... Now, we haven't discussed that yet, but in actual fact, when the image ends up on your retina, it has to be real. It has to be projected onto the retina, just like we projected them onto the card, right? Remember we were projecting on the card? And a real image is always what? What characteristics does a real image always have? Inverted, right? They're always inverted. In this case, it's going to be smaller, which is good because we don't have a very big eyeball. If we had it bigger than the actual object, that'd be very difficult. So it's very small, and it's inverted, and also left and right. So actually, right now, if you could somehow look, shrink yourselves down like a magic school bus or something like that, and you could get inside somebody's eye, you would actually see a little image on the back side of the eye that is small and inverted compared to what the thing you're looking at is. Everybody kind of conceptually getting that? There's actually little images inside your eyeball at the back, all right? And hopefully they're in focus. If they're in focus, you're in good shape. Okay, so the brain takes the small inverted image and creates, and what do we see? Sorry? An upright, larger image, because when I look out at you guys don't look really small in any way, but the actual image on my eye can't be any bigger than my eye itself. So the actual image in my eye is maybe that big of you guys out there, but when I look out there, my brain is able to see the world in a large, upright way. So creates a larger or large upright image, all right? Or maybe we're seeing the world upside down, but our brains are able to compensate for that. You know what I mean? What does the brain do? Like, how does it work? I've heard of instances where people have brain injuries, and for some reason it doesn't flip it right, and so for a while they perceive the world as upside down. Yeah, and then their brains become accustomed to it, and it's normal again because they've created a new normalcy where they can still they exist fine. But for a brief moment when their brains are injured, they perceive it as upside down because that little flip isn't taking place. All right, so there's all kinds of weird little brain eye effects that can take place. Yep. Yeah, we're going to the backside. What do we got here? What did I want to write here? Oh, let me just talk a little bit about this here. I don't have it labeled, but at the back of the eye, there's a spot where, actually, there's a spot right at the very back of the eye, which is where we have the most cells. Right? There's cells everywhere. No need to draw this. I don't think I have this, do I? What's on the back side there? Oh, it is there, but you don't need to label it. Don't worry about it. Don't draw on those lines. Don't label it. There's a small little few cells right at the very back that has the highest density of cells. There's lots of them. That's where we see our focus central image. So right now, when you look across the room and whatever, you're looking in the eyes of that special someone, and you look directly at something, like at my pen here, if I'm looking at the tip of this pen, that tip, if I'm looking at it, is on that most sensitive spot. All right? So you have a most sensitive spot. And then you have a less sensitive, which is your peripheral vision, which you can still see without looking directly at it, but you can't see it in quite as much detail, which is why you got to look directly at something to see that good detail. All right? Now there's another neat little spot, which is right here. And right here in this spot, where all the retina kind of funnels into the optic nerve, you actually can't see there. You actually don't have the ability to see anything there. All right? Now there's a neat little demonstration to show this. What you can do is take your piece of paper right now, and you're going to have to draw on it. About the separation of your eyes, doesn't matter, maybe about 2 centimeters or so. Put a triangle in one spot, and then put a plus on the other spot. All right? You may have done this before. Not so big of a triangle, are you kidding me? Just a little triangle. Little tiny little triangle. Like a little tiny triangle. Like, no, that's good. That's good. That's not bad. You can fill that in. Fill it in so it's nice and dark. So here's what you do. All right, here's what you do. Take a look at your triangle. Look at the triangle. All right? And and then cover one of your eyes. Actually, you got to actually look at the one that's across the way, but it doesn't matter. You got to look across. So you want to cover the eye that's on the opposite side of the triangle. All right? And then slowly, so keep your eye, hold on. Are you looking at the triangle? Yeah. Yes. Look. Let me see how I'm doing this. Oh, man, I got to bring her close, but I can do it. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So, whichever side is your triangle, right, cover up the other eye. Okay? Are you looking at the triangle? So, you got two shapes. I'm going to cover up the same side as the triangle, and I'm going to look at it with the other eye. You see that? See how I'm doing that? Yeah, I did it wrong. Okay, got it? Okay? Keep an eye on the triangle and move your paper in and out, and try to see the plus with your peripheral vision. Try to see the plus with your peripheral vision. And if you bring it a certain spot, it'll disappear. The plus will disappear on you. Did you notice it? No? Did you notice it disappeared? What's that? As you bring it close? That's because you have weak accommodation. We'll talk about that in a moment. If you can get it to disappear, what's happening is, on your eye that you've got open, you've made the plus symbol land on that spot where the optic nerve goes in, and you actually can't see it. Yeah, it could be quite close. It depends on how far apart you put the shapes. Now, what does that mean? That means whenever you're looking out there, let's say you close one eye, in actual fact, there's a spot in your field of view that you can't see, but your brain is filling it in. It's a really tiny spot, so you don't notice it. And when you open the other eye, the spot for one eye is filled in by your seeing of the left eye, and then the spot from the right eye is filled in. That's why we don't have these blind spots all over the place. But there is a blind spot out there somewhere. It's a tiny little spot, and if you were to put something there, you actually wouldn't see it, because there's a little blind spot there. All right? Okay. Let's now talk about eye defects. So there's just some pictures. There's the part where you can see really well. There's the blind spot. That's exciting. We talked about red eye. That's not exciting. Accommodation. I think that's the other side, right? Yeah. Excellent. Accommodation. The lens of the eye can change shape. This allows you to see things that are near and also to see things that are far away. So, the ciliary muscle. Oops. The ciliary muscles, we want to, when looking at a near object, notice the rays are spreading out. They want to get away. We need to bend them in hard in order to make them focus. So when you're looking at something close, your eyeball is working hard. So we need a really thick lens in order to make that bend. So the ciliary muscles pull like a drawstring, and it makes the lens thick and strong. All right? They pull like a drawstring, and they make the lens thick and strong. I'm busy, Mark. I'm busy here. I'll catch you later. I'll get the joke later. All right? So when you're looking at something close, you need a really thick lens. All right? Now, when people get older, right, whether it's the ciliary muscles get weak or whether the lens loses its ability to flex, we lose the ability to look at things closely. If you bring a piece of paper or a pencil, it doesn't make any difference. Hold it out in front of you and bring it in slowly and work those eye muscles to the point where it gets blurry and then stop. Right? Bring it in to where it gets blurry and then stop, and then bring it back out to where it's nice and good. And look at all you young people there. It's maybe about 10 centimeters from your nose, right? You can see, well, you got to go cross-eyed a little bit, but it goes blurry at about 10 centimeters, right? And I remember when I started teaching this stuff and I would do this lesson, I would say, yeah, I can do it to 10 centimeters too. Right now I'm to the point where I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? So for me, yeah, it's right there. I'm at that point. My arm's not that point. What, another 10 years will be one of these? No, I don't need glasses. I need longer arms. No? You've never heard anybody say anything like that? No? Excellent. That means you've got strong ciliary muscles. Like I said, for myself, when I started teaching, I was like you guys, yeah, no problem. But now oh yeah, that's blurry. Right there. I'm a good, 30 centimeters. Are you crazy? This is craziness. When did I get so old? Anyway, so that's called your near point, all right? And as you get older, your lens doesn't flex as much, and you lose that ability to see that near point. Then you need, bifocals or something like that. Looking at far objects. If you look at far objects, you'll notice that the rays are already coming quite parallel. They're far away, right? Just like when we look down at the end of the tech hall. So you'll notice that they're not spreading out. So they don't need to be bent quite as much. So the ciliary muscles can relax. They can relax. And this makes the lens, well, thin and weak. It's a weak lens. Thin and weak, all right? Which means it doesn't have to work quite as far. So if you look far away, then you can see quite nicely. If you are nearsighted and you can't see far away, we'll talk about that in a moment, that it means that your lens doesn't have the ability to get thin and weak. In other words, it doesn't spread itself out. It's always a little too strong. So you need to do something about that. We'll talk about that in a moment. All right. So let's talk about the common eye problems. So nearsighted. Nearsighted means you can see near, but you can't see far. That makes good sense, doesn't it? Now, there are technical terms for this, and it might be in the textbook. I don't get excited about the technical terms. I think one of it is myopic. Myopic, I think, is nearsighted or something like that. I can't remember, but it's not a big deal. On the test, I'm just worried about nearsighted. So nearsighted means you can see, what am I filling in here? You can see far, but, sorry, what did I just do? Who said that? Who did I buy that from? Who said far? Means you can see near, but you can't see far, hence nearsightedness. Make sense? All right. Now notice here, they're having difficulty seeing far, so we're starting with rays that are parallel, because remember they're far away. If they can't see far, then what it means is this lens is too strong and it bends the light too early. All right? It means the light bends too early, and it ends up with a non-focused image on the back. For this problem, the lens is too strong. And can blank the light, blank, blank. If it's too strong, what does it do to the light? It bends too early, too much. Either way I'll take. Doesn't make any difference. And can bend the light too early, too much. Same thing. All right? So if my light is bending too early, I need to spread that light out a little bit. To fix this, we need a blank lens to spread the rays out. What kind of lens spreads rays out? Yep, diverging. We need a diverging lens to spread the ray out, so a clear blank is on the blank. Image is on the retina, all right? So, a couple of you out there with actually only one's wearing the glasses today. Oh, 2 glasses, good stuff. So, what's that? Contacts, stealing your glasses for the name of science. Excellent, thank you. So, you are nearsighted, correct? Yes. And I can tell this, because remember earlier on I was holding up her glasses and I was saying, oh, you're nearsighted and you're blinder in one eye than the other, and then you got an astigmatism. Oops, can we turn on the light in here? The way I determine that is, I hold it out, and if you take a look at me in these lenses, as I move it to it, What do you notice about the size of my head as I look through there? It's a little smaller and it's a little upright. What type of lens have we learned that when light goes through it makes an image smaller and upright? Diverging, right? So these are diverging lenses. So when I look through them, it makes things a little smaller and upright, then that particular person is suffering from nearsightedness because the diverging, suffering is not a good term. My nearsightedness causes me pain. I guess suffering is not the right term. Anyway, this person is afflicted with nearsightedness, and therefore they need diverging lenses to do that. So this brings me to a little pet peeve about a book that I didn't really read it in high school. I was supposed to. I didn't do a lot of reading in high school. Do you still read a book called, it's got a character by the name of Piggy in it. They're on an island. Lord of the Flies? Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies. It's in grade 11? Well, when you study Lord of the Flies, there's going to be a character in there called Piggy. And Piggy wears glasses, and his glasses become very important because they're stuck on an island, right? And they want his glasses to light fires. But in the book, they explicitly say that he's nearsighted. And then they take his glasses and they start a fire. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever because you would have diverging lenses, and diverging lenses don't focus light. So I hate that part of the book. I think no, you can't flip them because they're still diverging. It doesn't matter which way, they're diverging either way. I believe the writer is William Golding or something. I have issues with Mr. Golding's interpretation of optics. Anyway, all right. I think he's long dead. It's an old book. Okay, next. Farsightedness. Now, farsightedness is a different story, where you can see far, but you can't see near. And to be honest, right, I can see adequately far, and due to my advanced age, I'm losing the ability to see near, and therefore I would be classified as farsighted at this point.
What if you do sighted as you get older with your eyes better?
You can have that happen. You can have that happen where there's a compensating effect. Yeah. Actually, if we go back to this for a moment, it's not necessarily that there's a strong lens here. You could just genetically have a really big eyeball. Let's say your eyeball was really elongated, so the retina was way back there. Then your lens would focus where like a normal person's retina was. It's just your eyeball's really long. So maybe you suffer from long eyeballs, Allison. I'm really not sure. So anyway, that could also be the effect. So if that's the case, as you do get older, you could end up with your lens getting to a point where, yeah, it sits on there nicely. And some people have experienced that. As they get older, one ailment gets better, right, due to the other ailment. Okay. And so we've got farsightedness, means you can see far, but you can't see near. And for this problem, the lens is too relaxed. Yeah. Weak. I want weak. The lens is too weak. It's too weak. Whether it's because it's too relaxed, that could be a reason, or it could be that it can't. Wait a minute. Farsighted, too weak. That's odd. No, that's what it is. Or it could be you've got a short eyeball. Right? Could have like short eyeball syndrome. I don't know if that's a real thing. So it's too weak and cannot bend the light enough. All right. To fix this, we need a converging lens to bring the rays together so a clear image is on the, I spelled that wrong, is on the retina. All right? I don't know, you're farsighted, you're nearsighted, right? Nearsighted? Yeah, so you're the same scenario as Alice here, so that's what I'm going to show. It's rare to be farsighted like that, especially when you're young. Sometimes you can have eye situations, and those people who do wear those glasses, they tend to be thick. They look thick, right? Remember, they're magnifying glasses, so they're like putting a magnifying glass in front of your eyeball, which then tends to make the people who wear those glasses look like they've got big eyes, all right? So people who are farsighted tend to have that appearance of their eyes being large because they've got magnifying glasses in front of their eyes. Now, you'd rather be stuck on a desert island with someone who is farsighted because you could then use their glasses to start a fire, and that would be a good thing. Yeah, that would be dangerous for them. Yeah, they could burn their retina. They could burn their retina because they're focusing at the sun's energy on that. You wouldn't want to do that. Yes? Contacts would be the same way. That's fine. You're putting them right on the surface of the cornea, right? And so you've got a diverging lens on the surface of your cornea, which is why the laser eye surgery works. Instead of putting a lens on the cornea, why don't you just burn and change the shape of the cornea? And then, yeah, they change the shape of the cornea to make it weaker. And therefore, it works. Yep. Yes, that's right.
But then how do you tell the difference?
You can't. It's a very small difference in thickness. But you don't need to tell the difference because your eye doctor has prescribed you for them, and then the company makes them diverging or converging depending on what you need. Does that make sense? But you can't really tell the thickness part. It's not like you've got to say, oh, this is a ripoff. You gave me converging contact lens. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah, it would be. It would be. It would have a thickness difference. It wouldn't have to be very large. It doesn't have to be like bulging out of your, like when you close your eye, wrapping over top of the contact lens. It's not that thick. Yep. I'm not sure. How would they add to the curvature? I guess they could burn the edges deeper to make it more convex, right? As opposed to flattening the surface out. You see what I mean? So maybe they could. I really don't know. But all they got to do is change that curvature as well, that thickness. Yep. Okay, that's exciting. So, did I want to say something else about that? Not likely. Other eye problems. Don't write this stuff down. I'm not sure. This is in the textbook. What is this? Pre-biopsia, form of farsightedness caused by a loss of accommodation. That's what old people get. Cataracts. That's when is that when the lens gets cloudy, or is it when the lens gets cloudy or the cornea gets cloudy? I'm not sure. I'm not worried about that stuff. Laser eye surgery. We talked about that, and that's just fun to put that gross eyeball up there, right? See that guy's the surface of his cornea pulled back there. That's just awesome stuff, really. Who's kidding who? And Mr. Petrus found some really disgusting images, and there's a bug in that guy's eye, and they're pulling that right out of there, and that's just really gross.
How did that get in there?
I have no idea. Again, Mr. Petrus, when he was making up some notes, found these, and I said, I want those on my PowerPoint, because that's just opposite. Yeah, this guy's getting some surgery done to remove that maggot out of his eye. Something laid an egg in there, probably, maybe just like a spider, like when you're sleeping. You know, could be, or maybe when you were sleeping, it laid something in there. I don't know. I have no idea. All right, that's fun. Okay, I am going to escape this. Oh no, I'm still recording. I got to stop the recorder. Stop recording.